Imagine waking up on a continent where the ultimate symbol of military might is no longer defined by heavy, loud steel grinding through the mud. Instead, picture a future where strength is defined by quiet, smart skies. A cloud of tiny, intelligent machines buzzing above cities, coastlines, and forests, capable of seeing and adapting faster than any human ever could. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're looking at a massive paradigm shift that is actively reshaping how we understand power, industry, and our daily lives.
Okay, let's dive right into this. For practically all of modern history, tanks have been the ultimate symbol of strength, right? They represent raw firepower, thick armor, and intimidation. They're highly visible, a massive column of steel that basically says, I am here, and you will move. But what if that era is ending? What if the next great power in Europe isn't the one with the heaviest armor, but the one with the smartest eyes in the sky and the absolute fastest response network? That is the provocative question at the heart of our Explainer today.
So, here's our roadmap for making sense of all this. We're going to start with the new logic of war and how the battlefield is being rewired, before checking out the massive shift toward a drone industrial economy. Then, we'll bring it home to society, the sky, and what this all means for European security. We're going to trace how this technological wave ripples outward from the front line straight into macroeconomics and our everyday lives.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the new logic of war, and the shift from brute force to continuous presence.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the stark contrast. Under the old tank doctrine on the left, the idea is to dominate a single point with sheer brute force to break an enemy line. You're heavy and you're highly visible. But the drone doctrine on the right, that completely relies on agility and near invisibility. Instead of dominating one point, drones are built to control a pattern. They scout, track, strike, relay, and swarm, shifting the entire goal from delivering one giant blow to maintaining a constant, overwhelming presence.
And that brings us to a really profound realization from our source material. Because drones shift the focus from brute force over to intelligence, defense ministries are literally changing their shopping lists. As the text puts it, they no longer just buy weapons, they buy awareness. In this new era, the speed of information matters just as much as the speed of movement. The true strategic asset now is the ability to identify, track, and adapt to threats before they ever have the chance to grow.
Moving right along to Section 2, rewiring the battlefield and how the rules of engagement are changing.
Let's see how this builds in a real-world scenario. When the sky is crowded with small, cheap systems that see absolutely everything, a distributed, invisible strength can suddenly put a disproportionate amount of pressure on traditional, heavy armies. Imagine a sudden crisis, maybe a border dispute or a sabotage attempt. The first response wouldn't be rolling in a column of tanks anymore. First, rapid reconnaissance drones map the area. Next, continuous sensor coverage locks in on any movement. Then, electronic defense systems scramble the enemy's signals, and precision coordination takes over. The entire crisis could actually be contained before a single tank engine ever fires up.
Naturally, because the tools are changing, the people operating them have to change too. The military of the future needs an entirely different skill set. Look at the new expertise required here. Data analysts, software experts, electronic warfare specialists, robotics technicians, and coders. Military service is becoming way less about brute physicality and much more about technical literacy and strategic thinking. It completely opens the door for a new kind of recruit who thrives in digital systems rather than heavy machinery.
Which leads us to Section 3, the drone industrial economy. We're transitioning from heavy steel to agile tech ecosystems.
If an entire continent pivots its military strategy away from heavy steel, the economic shockwaves of building this new distributed capability are going to be absolutely massive. Just compare the old industrial needs with the new ones. Back in the day, defense manufacturing was all about steel, heavy armor, and these giant, slow-moving production lines. Today, the must-have materials are microchips, batteries, advanced optics, and software. And the manufacturing shifts to modular, mass-producible clusters. Practically overnight, small and medium-sized tech manufacturers across Europe become critical strategic suppliers. The whole defense industry spreads out from a few giant corporations into this massive, flexible network of tech firms.
So, the crucial point is this. While this new economy is incredibly agile, it is also incredibly fragile. Why? Because it completely relies on the global tech supply chain. If microchips, optics, or specialized batteries get delayed somewhere in the world, the entire European defense system takes a hit. Honestly, you don't even need to bomb a factory to slow down an army anymore. A simple bottleneck in the global supply chain for batteries could do the exact same thing.
Okay, on to Section 4, society and the sky.
Here we're exploring the dual-use nature of drones and their civilian impact.
Now, one of the most fascinating takeaways from the source material is that this technology doesn't just stay on a battlefield. Drones are essentially becoming the new nervous system of the continent. Just imagine these systems operating over your own cities, bridges, or coastlines. The exact same networks designed for defense can seamlessly handle search and rescue operations, early wildfire detection, inspecting aging infrastructure, managing traffic, and coordinating disaster relief. If you build a massive drone network for security, you're simultaneously creating this incredible safety and rapid response net for everyday civilian life.
But, of course, having this constant aerial presence sparks a pretty intense debate. With cameras in the sky, sensors over the roads, and coastlines constantly monitored, it really forces us to ask, when exactly does security become surveillance? Who actually controls all this omnipresent data, and how much monitoring is just too much? Going forward, society is really going to have to wrestle with how to balance the massive benefits of collective protection with our fundamental right to privacy. These are the kinds of questions that will absolutely shape laws and public trust for decades to come.
And finally, Section 5. Redefining European security and balancing technology with strategy.
We really need to look at how this whole technological shift impacts the political unity of Europe. Because drones run on fast, networked data, they could actually push Europe toward much deeper political integration. Threats and information don't care about national borders, right? So sharing surveillance, air defense, and intelligence networks just makes sense. That said, getting there won't be easy. Countries are bound to clash over who owns the data, who's footing the bill, and how much sovereignty they're actually willing to hand over. But the nations that adapt to this shared integration quickly, they'll likely become the leaders of Europe's new security order.
And this brilliantly illustrates that survival in this new era ultimately relies on a layered defense ecosystem. Notice how drones and cyber warfare might take the lead at a combined 65%, but air defenses and, yes, traditional ground forces are still absolutely essential for protection and holding ground. Tanks aren't entirely obsolete, they simply become one tool among many in a balanced system, where drones lead and shape the fight.
But we have to take note of this crucial warning from the source text. Every huge technological leap brings a real risk of overconfidence. Drones can absolutely transform a battlefield, but they cannot replace strategy, human judgment, or democratic oversight. If a continent builds an army of drones without setting up ethical rules and securing reliable supply chains, well, it's simply trading one vulnerability for another.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a lingering thought. We're watching the very nature of power shift right before our eyes, from heavy mass to invisible agility, from physical steel to the speed of data. Can Europe navigate this massive shift and use the drone age to become safer without becoming less free? Which side do you think will ultimately shape the destiny of the continent, heavy steel or intelligent swarms? Thanks so much for exploring this fascinating topic with us today. Keep asking those big questions and keep looking to the skies.